And then I was like, yeah, first baby, it was one of those, oh, what, we're pregnant. And then second baby, I took my IUD out and never got my cycle. The next month I was pregnant. So third baby, right? I was like, yeah, we're just gonna get pregnant. And at 37, month one, then month two, then three, four, five. I'm like, wait, hold on. This is not what happens to, like, I just get pregnant, right? This is not a problem.
Hey guys, Mom Talks with Krista is now a podcast. This week's review of the week comes from Yvette. Mom Talks with Krista is so helpful. It's such a good listen filled with lots of knowledge. If you're a new mom, mommy to be, or already have X amount of kids, there's always something new to learn, and Krista is so good at opening up these conversations. Give it a try, you'll love it. Thanks for the awesome review, and if you find this episode or any episode of Mom Talks helpful, please leave a review. Your support means the world to me. So today's episode, we have another one of my favorite pages to follow, and that is Rue The Boob Boss. And man, a boss she is. Rue is an advanced registered nurse practitioner, a lactation consultant, a wife, a mom of 2 boys with a 3rd on the way, and the CEO of The Perfect Push. But one of the things she really enforces is helping parents not just survive, but thrive in parenthood. There was so much that we covered that I split this into 2 parts. So part 2 will be next week. So let's just dive right into part 1. Here's Rue. I'm so excited to have you on the show, Rue. I know you are self-labeled as the Boob Boss, which is so perfect for Mommy Knows Best to talk to you. And I first saw you through some of your reels. So you have such awesome educational posts out there for moms. I think that's so helpful. So just to get started, if you could just tell us a little bit about who you are and your brand, and we'll go from there.
Oh my God, thanks, Krista. It is such a pleasure to be here. I love your cookies.
Yes.
A little too much, but I absolutely love Mommy Knows Best cookies. And I'm Rue The Boob Boss. I'm a family nurse practitioner, IBCLC. I own a lactation and parenting wellness clinic called The Perfect Push out here in Seattle, Washington. Our clinic is actually based in Redmond. And I'm literally obsessed with bumps, babies, and boobs. That is like my jam all day long. And so the Boob Boss is somebody who's on Instagram and Facebook, just disseminating information to new and expecting parents and answering questions, because it's such a lonely world out there. And I was just trying to find a fun and creative way to share information that sometimes can be a little blah or not always given to parents in ways that they can really wrap their heads around.
And you do it in such a fun way that I think learning about it is fun, and it's exciting for parents that, find your page. And I think that's what we need too, is not just handing them this manual and saying, here, read it, but it's more just fun, exciting ways of doing that. So you're from Zimbabwe, and you kind of talk about your culture and how it really played into how important family and communal parenting was. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. And one of the things that I would say long for being here, and I've been here since my early 20s, is just the sense of community, especially when it comes to having a baby. Anytime a family welcomes a new child, into their home, it's a family event, right? Everybody is excited about it. Everybody shows up for it. And there's so much support around new parents, something that I just feel like we don't get enough of at all in the United States. In our culture, there's definitely this sense of, y'all be fine. You've got doctors, you've got nurses, you've got pediatricians, midwives. So, you guys will be okay. And you're supposed to be tired. That's what having a newborn baby is like. And I am so sick and tired of that notion. I preach Thrive Parenting. And part of Thrive Parenting is this idea that, with the right support, new parents can enjoy the newborn phase. You don't have to be tied to the point of your hair falling out or your teeth falling out, right? And losing your mind. And in Zimbabwe, there's a practice called kugarira. And kugarira is when an older family member, female family member, actually moves into the home with you. And they come in right before you have the baby. They get everything ready for you, get it all set up. And they stay with you up to 6 months after you have this baby and help take care of mom and baby, but also teach mom how to take care of baby. And so having that constant support and presence is like phenomenal. And for me, that was always my mom. Every time I've ever had a baby, my mom has been here with me. And it has made a world of difference. I remember with my first son, when he came and I was like, I'm a labor and delivery nurse. I can do it all by myself. And I didn't want help. And that ended up with me dropping my baby. And I was like, okay, this whole superwoman, you can do it all, high functioning, completely overrated. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to want help. It's okay to want to sleep. And it's okay to get sleep. So that's kind of my philosophy. And we've tried with the Perfect Push to recreate that for new and expectant parents in the Seattle area.
We see all the posts that's like, you have to be super mom and do this and like, get your body back and all these things that's like, it's so quick. And it's like that, and on the other hand, it's like you need a village. So it's so important, that community and reaching out for help. How has your business changed because of COVID, and how are you kind of like adapting to help these moms in this kind of new crazy time we're living in?
Yeah, it's been insane. I think one of the things, I've always been a big fan of prenatal lactation support. So that's always been like, the thing that I harp on quite a bit. But then COVID hit, and then suddenly I was like, oh my God, this is critical. Because what ends up happening is, mom has baby, and there are all these things that we could have caught early on, right? While mom was still pregnant, and figured out, okay, this is the kind of pump that you're going to need. You've got inverted nipples. Let's try and see if we can get them to pop out. You've got insufficient glandular tissues, so you may have a lower milk supply. So I need you to stop pumping from day one. So what does that really look like? And families were, having a baby, and then all of a sudden trying to get into lactation or find somebody to come to you in COVID was close to impossible. So everybody was like super, super stressed out. And I was like, okay, what if we got you ready ahead of time? Which is something that I've been saying over and over again. Breastfeeding begins before baby. So let's get moms ready before baby comes. Let's get families ready. Get everybody ready to, how are we going to feed this baby? How are we going to keep this baby alive, right? And take care of this little human. So that's one thing that we've pushed, and we've been doing so much more of. And the beauty of it is it can be done virtually. It is one of the things that I love doing virtually. We have a secure HIPAA protected medical record. So a lot of times I'm like to moms, okay, so go ahead and flash me so I can see the equipment, right? And so it's so weird how many things have become so normal to do on video. Right? Because before it'd be like, you want me to what on video? Like, okay, is anyone else watching? Like, can I be sure this isn't going to be streamed somewhere? So we've had to make adaptations. We're so fortunate that the medical record we're using already had video conferencing calls in there. So it was a super simple switch. But when it comes to actual lactation consults, I have tried to do them virtually, and in a pinch I will, but it's such a hands-on thing. So it's really, really hard to, and we've had parents where they're trying to manipulate the video that, can you see? I'm like, no, I don't know what I'm looking at. So we've increased our appointment times just to accommodate having just one family in the clinic at any given time, cut down our staff in the clinic, again, just so that we can, limit exposure. We're using all the PPE, just again, to protect our families, taking temperatures, doing the COVID questionnaires. We're super fortunate that our patient population generally is staying safe because they are either pregnant or they're welcoming a new baby, right? So most people are social distancing, most people are quarantining anyway. So we've been really, really lucky, and knock on wood, we haven't had any COVID scares or any concerns in our clinic so far.
So I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. I know you also talk a lot about fertility, and it's a topic we haven't talked about on the show before. So I was so interested when I saw you discuss it. So fertility after 35. So what advice or tips do you have for women that are, reaching that age or thinking about having kids later on in life?
The struggle is real. That is what I will say about that. If you follow me on Rue The Boob Boss, you'll kind of follow my journey. And I have two boys. I have a 7-year-old, almost 8, and one who's going to be 4 next month. And yeah, I know, time flies. And I'm 37 now. And I always knew it was funny. I had my first son, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. And then it took me up 3, almost 4 years to be like, okay, maybe we should do that. And then as soon as I gave birth to my second son, literally as soon as he came out, I was like, I cannot wait to do this again.
Oh.
And it was insane. And my husband's eyes are literally like popping out in his head. He's like, what have we done? Like, this is a lot. And the one thing that I will say is a lot of times, especially with parenting, when you've got two like really hands-on, really involved parents, you can try and out-parent each other. And you can, as a couple, can get lost in this whole parenting journey. So I'm always talking about, how do you baby-proof your marriage? So, you know, fast forward about 3-4 years, it took about that long for me to convince my husband that we need to have another baby, because he was like, yeah, no, we're not doing this again. We barely made it through after baby number 2. So why would we have another one? You know, and so we finally got to the place where we're like, we're in this great place. And he's like, okay, fine. So literally I wore my husband down. And then I was like, yeah, you know, first baby, it was one of those, oh, what, we're pregnant. And then second baby, I took my IUD out and never got my cycle. The next month I was pregnant. So third baby, right? I was like, yeah, we're just gonna get pregnant. And at 37, month 1, then month 2, then 3, 4, 5. I'm like, wait, hold on. This is not what happens to me. Like, I just get pregnant, right? This is not a problem. And then I started having to really pay attention to, like, what does my cycle look like? And is everything normal? And went in for a fertility screen. And only to find out that, you know, my age is super low. And I'm like, I have fertility problems. And it was such a rude awakening. And it's not that I didn't know how your fertility starts to decline from the time you're in your 30s. Your fertility really starts to decline. And there's so many women out there. You know, I've been busy with raising the boys, running a business, just, you know, being a boss babe, doing what I do. And you always take it for granted, especially if you've had babies, that when I'm ready to have another one, it's just going to happen. And the first thing that I would any women, especially if you're in your 30s or getting closer to 35, is you don't have as much time as you think you do. One of the first things that you want to do is just check on your baseline fertility. So if you're 35 for sure and you're like, okay, I'm going to start having a baby, we normally say to you, try for 6 months. And then after 6 months, if nothing's happening, come on in and we'll run some labs. No, don't try for 6 months. Just go on in when you decide you want to have a baby, talk to your OB and say, can you tell me where I stand? So that you're not trying for 6 months in vain. Because if I had just gone in and got my labs checked, I would have known that I wasn't going to be able to get pregnant without a little bit of help. Like, it was never going to be able to happen for me just because of how everything was falling. Second thing I would say is know your cycle. And I think a lot of women, especially if you've been on birth control or you've had an IUD, you kind of gets lost. Like, who tracks their cycle anymore? Like, right? And there's so many apps that can help you do this, but this is something that's really going to help you figure out, like, when are you ovulating? Because you only have about 12 to 24 hours that egg, when you ovulate, is when that egg is released. And it only lives in your body for about 12 to 24 hours. So you have such a narrow window for you to get pregnant. So knowing when that happens every single month is going to increase your chances so that you guys know when you're supposed to be doing the baby dance. So when I started tracking my cycle, I found out it was only 24 days, which really wasn't giving me enough time for me to even get pregnant and stay pregnant, which was the big issue. So fortunately for me, I've started working with fertility and it's been mind-blowing. Wasted about 5 months before I actually figured out what was going on, because I was like, oh no, it's going to be fine. And I think in your 30s, especially late 30s, you don't have the luxury of doing that, because every single year that passes, your chances of getting pregnant without any help continue to decrease.
Wow. Yeah, that's such a good point about really knowing your body and knowing what's normal for you and getting the fertility check too. Because I think you're right. A lot of times people are like, oh, I got plenty of time. So when someone does get pregnant, 35 plus, how does that pregnancy kind of differ?
You know, there's the term that we also love, geriatric pregnancy, right? And after 35, you're considered advanced maternal age and high risk. So we do know when you're born as a woman, you're born with all the eggs that you're ever going to have. And so with time, all they're doing is aging. And that's part of the issue that we have. And so I always like to say, you know, I've got like scrambled eggs, right? Because it's just 37 years later, my eggs are like tired. And there are going to be a lot of genetic changes that potentially can happen. So women in their late 30s are more at risk of having genetic disorders, and which is why they do a ton more testing. You're also at high risk of, diabetes, gestational diabetes, hypertension, especially women of color, developing preeclampsia. So needless to say, they're going to handle you, excuse the pun, like an egg. And everybody is just going to want to keep, hawk eyes on you, and definitely make sure that the pregnancy is progressing that normally. It's not only harder to get pregnant at older, it's also harder to stay pregnant. So it's like this double whammy. So everybody's definitely, keeping an eye on you a little closer. You're going to be seeing your obstetrician or your midwife a little bit more often. And there's been a lot of talk I'm hearing now, especially once you're in your late 30s, getting into 40s and you're pregnant, about not letting moms get, definitely they're not going to let you go over 40 weeks. We know your placenta is going to age. And they've had better outcomes when they start inducing moms, which I'm not a big fan of, but at like 39 weeks, trying to get moms to deliver at about 39 weeks, as opposed to letting them go all the way through to 40, 41 weeks. So again, those are all the things that, start getting pulled off the table. So in your late 30s, your medical care is going to be just more medical.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, it's definitely good to just, I think, be aware of it. I know our audience is kind of all over with age range and where they are at in their fertility journey. So it's just definitely good to know. Hey guys, if you found this or any episode of Mom Talks with Krista helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends. We release new videos every single Wednesday, and our new podcast is out every single Thursday. So lots of different ways you can catch us. And of course, if you're not following us on our socials, go ahead and follow us there. We've got tons of new content for you every single day. And finally, if you're watching this and doubting yourself, you're doing a great job. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.